I never thought slipping a piece of paper to a mafia boss would be the moment that saved his life and destroyed mine. Let me take you back to that night. The night everything changed. The champagne glasses wouldn't stop clinking. That sound, it still haunts me. Every toast was another second closer to Victor's death, and I was the only person in that entire restaurant who knew it. My hands shook as I carried the bottle of Dom Perignon to his table. 18 years I'd known Victor Constantine. 18 years since we were kids sleeping on cardboard in that freezing orphanage, sharing one thin blanket between us, promising we'd always protect each other. And here I was, watching him smile at Isabel Moretti like she was his future, when really, she was his executioner. The private dining room glowed with soft golden light, candles everywhere, red roses on every table. Victor had rented out the entire back section of Russo's for this engagement celebration. 50 people, all dressed in expensive suits and designer dresses, all pretending this wedding was about love instead of what it really was, a business merger between two crime families. I knew better. 48 hours earlier, I'd been wiping down tables in the main dining room when I heard Isabel's voice cutting through the kitchen door. Sharp, cold. Nothing like the sweet tone she used around Victor. 20 soldiers in position by Thursday, she'd said into her phone. My father wants it clean. One shot, center mass, then we absorb his entire operation. My blood had turned to ice water. I'd pressed myself against the wall, hidden behind the server's station, barely breathing. She'd walked past me without a glance, already back to her fake smile, her diamond engagement ring catching the light like a warning I should have given months ago. But I couldn't tell Victor the truth. Not without exposing myself. See, Victor didn't know his childhood best friend Roslyn, the girl who used to steal bread with him, who taught him how to pick locks, who held his hand during nightmares, was working as a waitress in his favorite restaurant. He thought I'd moved to California 6 years ago. Disappeared. Started fresh. I'd let him believe that lie because the truth was worse. I'd spent 6 months working undercover in his world, getting close to his organization, all because I'd heard rumors about the Moretti engagement and couldn't stand by while he walked into danger blind. God, the things we do for people we love. My supervisor had given me the engagement party assignment 3 days before. Big tips tonight, Roslyn. These people throw money around like confetti. She had no idea I would have paid every cent I had just to get into that room. Now I was here, and Victor was laughing at something Isabel said, and I wanted to scream. The scar above his left eyebrow. I'd been there when he got that, age 12, defending me from older kids who thought a girl didn't belong in their territory. He'd taken a bottle to the face. Never complained once. That's who Victor was. Loyal to his bones. Too loyal. It's what made him so dangerous in his world, and it's exactly what was going to get him killed tonight. I scanned the room, counting faces I'd memorized from my surveillance work. 3 Moretti soldiers at the bar, 2 more by the emergency exit, another one pretending to be a waiter. I'd caught him checking a concealed weapon in the bathroom 20 minutes ago. This wasn't a celebration. It was a setup. Isabel sat beside Victor, her hand possessive on his arm, her red lips curved in a smile that made my stomach turn. She was beautiful. I'd give her that. Dark hair like silk, eyes like smoke, curves that made men stupid. But I'd seen what was underneath that beauty. I'd heard her coordinate his murder like she was ordering takeout. More champagne? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. Victor glanced up. Our eyes met for 1 second, maybe less, and I swear something flickered in his face. Recognition? No. Impossible. I looked different now. Shorter hair, colored contacts, 20 pounds lighter from stress and the physical demands of this job. Please, Isabel said, her voice honey-sweet poison. She didn't even look at me. Why would she? I was just the help. I poured carefully, watching the bubbles rise, buying myself seconds to think. The note was already written, folded small in my apron pocket. I'd spent an hour on those 3 sentences, knowing they had to be perfect. Too vague and he wouldn't take it seriously. Too detailed and he'd have questions I couldn't answer without blowing everything. My heart hammered so hard I thought everyone could hear it. This was it. The moment I'd been building toward for 6 months. Tell him and save his life, or stay quiet and watch him die. Some choice. I finished pouring Isabel's glass, then moved to Victor's. As I leaned forward, I let the note slip from my fingers onto his lap, hidden beneath the white tablecloth. For one terrible second, I thought he'd miss it. Then his hand moved, casual, like he was adjusting his napkin. His fingers found the paper. I straightened up, professional smile locked in place, and started to turn away. That's when I saw Isabel's eyes. She was staring right at me, not at my face, at my hand, at the exact spot where I'd dropped the note. My blood froze. Her expression didn't change. That smile stayed perfectly in place, but her eyes went cold and sharp, and I knew. She'd seen everything. Time seemed to slow down. I watched her hand move beneath the table, reaching for something at her thigh. A phone? A weapon? Roslyn. Victor's voice cut through my panic. Low, commanding. The voice of a man who'd built an empire on making people obey. I turned back. He'd unfolded the note beneath the table, reading it with his face perfectly neutral. But I could see the tension in his jaw, the way his knuckles had gone, white against the champagne glass. The note read, "Your fiancé betrayed you. They're in position. Back exit. Now." Yes, sir? My voice came out barely a whisper. He stood up smoothly, one hand casually buttoning his suit jacket. To anyone watching, he just looked like he was stepping away from the table. But I could see the calculation in his eyes, the way he'd already mapped every exit, every threat. That's when I noticed how quiet the room had gotten. The Moretti soldiers at the bar had stopped talking. The fake waiter by the emergency exit had his hand inside his jacket. 3 more men I hadn't noticed before were blocking the main entrance. We were surrounded. "Isabel, sweetheart," Victor said, his voice smooth as silk. "I need to make a quick call. Business, you understand?" She stood too, that smile still perfect. "Of course, darling. I'll come with you." "No need." He was already moving, his hand finding my wrist in a grip that looked gentle, but felt like iron. "The waitress will show me to the office." My pulse thundered in my ears as he pulled me toward the kitchen entrance. 20 steps. 15. 10. "Victor." Isabel's voice had lost its sweetness. "Where are you going?" He didn't answer, just kept walking, faster now, his hand tight around my wrist. 5 steps from the kitchen door. That's when I heard the safety click off a gun. "Everyone stay exactly where you are," a male voice called out. Loud, authoritative. One of the Moretti soldiers, no longer bothering to hide. Victor's jaw tightened, but he didn't stop moving. "I said stop." The voice was closer now, angrier. We hit the kitchen door at a run. Victor shoved through it, pulling me with him, and suddenly we were in bright fluorescent light and the smell of garlic and grease. "Back exit," I gasped, pointing toward the alley door. Shouts erupted behind us. The dining room had exploded into chaos. I could hear chairs scraping, glass breaking, Isabel screaming orders. We ran through the kitchen, past shocked cooks and dishwashers, toward the metal door that led to the service alley. Victor slammed into it with his shoulder. The door burst open, and then we were outside in the cold night air, rain falling in sheets. "This way." I pulled him left, toward the maze of back alleys I'd memorized during months of planning for exactly this kind of emergency. Footsteps pounded behind us, multiple sets, heavy boots on wet pavement. "Split up," Victor said. "They're after me, not you. You can—" "Shut up and run," I shot back. His eyes widened, probably the first time in years anyone had talked to him like that. But he didn't argue. We ran. The alley opened onto a side street. Rain blurred the streetlights into halos of gold. My shoes slapped against puddles, my waitress uniform already soaked through, but I didn't slow down. Behind us, a voice crackled over a radio. "Target heading north on 5th. All units converge." All units. This wasn't just the soldiers from the restaurant. Isabel had the whole area covered. "How many?" Victor gasped as we ran. I counted 6 inside, no idea how many outside. He cursed under his breath, a stream of words I hadn't heard since we were kids. We turned down another alley, narrower this time, barely wide enough for both of us. Dumpsters lined the walls. Fire escapes dripped rust-colored water. That's when I heard it. A phone. Ringing. Victor's phone. Still in his jacket pocket. He pulled it out without breaking stride, glanced at the screen, and his face went hard as stone. "It's her," he said. "Isabel. Don't answer it." He answered it. "Hello, my love." His voice was pure ice wrapped in velvet. "Something you want to tell me?" I couldn't hear her response, but I saw his expression shift. Anger, betrayal, and something else. Something that looked almost like hurt. "So it's true," he said quietly. "All of it." More words from the other end, loud enough now that I caught fragments. "Business, nothing personal. My father's orders would have been quick. Victor laughed, and it was the coldest sound I'd ever heard. "How thoughtful." "Victor." Isabel's voice came through clearer now, desperate. "Please, just stop running. We can still work this out. We can—" "You put a price on my head at our engagement party." His voice could have cut glass. "Tell me, darling, what exactly is there to work out?" Silence on the other end. Then, "Who told you? Who gave you that note?" Victor's eyes met mine. In that moment, I saw him make a choice. "Someone who actually gives a damn whether I live or die," he said. Then he hung up. Immediately, the phone started ringing again. He threw it into a puddle, watched it spark and die, then grabbed my hand. "We need to keep moving," he said. "She's not going to stop. Not now." "I know." My chest burned from running. "I have a place, a few blocks from here. Safe house." "You have a safe house?" He stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. "Who the hell are you?" Before I could answer, a black SUV screeched around the corner ahead of us, headlights blinding. Victor yanked me backward, down a different alley, but it was too late. We could already hear more vehicles closing in from every direction. We were trapped. The SUV's doors flew open. 3 men spilled out, guns already drawn. Victor moved faster than I'd ever seen anyone move. He grabbed a metal trash can lid, God knows why those were even around anymore, and hurled it at the closest gunman. The man went down hard, weapon clattering away. But 2 more were already coming. "Run!" Victor shoved me toward a gap between buildings so narrow I barely fit. I squeezed through, my shoulders scraping brick on both sides. Behind me, I heard a grunt of pain, then the sick thud of fist hitting flesh. "Victor!" I tried to turn around, but the space was too tight. "Keep going!" His voice was strained, fighting. The gap opened into a courtyard behind an apartment building. Laundry lines crisscrossed overhead, heavy with rain-soaked clothes. I stumbled into the open space just as Victor crashed through behind me, blood running from a split lip. "You okay?" I grabbed his arm. "Peachy." He wiped the blood with his sleeve. "They're right behind us." He was right. I could hear them forcing their way through the gap, cursing and shouting coordinates into their radios. We ran across the courtyard toward another alley. My lungs burned. My legs felt like lead. But fear has a way of pushing your body past limits you thought were absolute. Have you ever run for your life? Really run, knowing if you stop, you die? It rewires something in your brain. Every shadow becomes a threat. Every sound is a gunshot. Your whole world shrinks down to one thought: survive. This alley led to a fire escape. Victor hit it first, the metal stairs rattling under his weight. I followed, climbing fast, my wet hands slipping on the rungs. Below us, the courtyard filled with men. 5, 6, 7. I stopped counting. "There!" One of them pointed up at us. Gunfire cracked the night air. Bullets sparked off the metal railing inches from my hand. I climbed faster, my heart trying to pound its way out of my chest. We reached a rooftop. Flat. Empty, except for old air conditioning units and satellite dishes. The rain had turned into a downpour, cold and angry, soaking through everything. Victor ran to the edge, looked down, measured the distance to the next building. No, I said, reading his mind. That's at least 15 feet. Got a better idea? He was already backing up, getting a running start. Victor, you can't! He ran. For one terrible second, he was airborne, arms windmilling, suspended over a 4-story drop. Then he hit the other roof, rolled, came up breathing hard. Your turn, he called back. Are you insane? But I was already backing up, because behind me I could hear boots on the fire escape, getting closer. I ran, pushed off the edge, flew. The gap seemed endless. The street below yawned open like a hungry mouth. Wind grabbed at my clothes, pulled me down. Victor's hands caught my wrists. He yanked me forward, and suddenly I was on solid ground, gasping, shaking, alive. Don't ever make me do that again, I wheezed. Deal. He pulled me to my feet. Where's this safe house? 2 more blocks, if we can get down without breaking our necks. We found a different fire escape, this one older, rickier. It groaned under our weight, but held. We dropped into another alley, then another street. Behind us, I could hear the pursuit spreading out. More vehicles, more men. Isabel wasn't playing around. We ran through streets that blurred together, past clothes shops and sleeping apartments, and one old man walking his dog who stared at us like we'd lost our minds. Maybe we had. Finally, I pulled Victor into a doorway. Narrow stairs led down, to a basement apartment. I'd rented it 3 months ago under a fake name, paid cash for 6 months up front. My insurance policy. I fumbled with the keys, my hands shaking so badly I almost dropped them. The door opened. We stumbled inside. Victor slammed it shut behind us, threw the deadbolt, and slid down to the floor, back against the door, chest heaving. The apartment was tiny. 1 room, a mattress on the floor, a mini fridge, a bathroom the size of a closet. But it was dry, and it was safe. And right now, that was everything. I collapsed onto the mattress, every muscle screaming. For a long minute, neither of us spoke. Just breathed. Just existed in the silence. Then Victor said, "You want to tell me what the hell is going on?" I'd been dreading this conversation for 6 months. Which part? I stalled. Start with how you knew about tonight, then work backward to why you're here at all. His voice was calm, but I could hear the edge underneath. And don't lie to me, Roslyn. My heart stopped. You knew, I whispered. This whole time you knew it was me. I've known since your 2nd week at Russo's. He stood up, water dripping from his hair, his suit ruined and clinging to his frame. You think I don't recognize the girl who taught me how to survive? You colored your hair and lost some weight, but your eyes are the same. Your voice is the same. The way you bite your lip when you're nervous, that's the same too. Tears burned behind my eyes. Then why didn't you say anything? Because I wanted to know what game you were playing. He crossed his arms. I've been watching you watch me for months, Roslyn. Waiting for you to make your move. Tonight, you finally did. So I'm asking again, what the hell is going on? I couldn't look at him, couldn't face what I'd see in his eyes. I heard about the engagement, I said quietly. 6 months ago, through the network. Everyone in our world knew Victor Constantine was marrying a Moretti to end the war. And I couldn't just let you do it, not without knowing if it was real. My voice cracked. You disappeared into this life, Victor, into violence and power and politics. I had no idea if you were okay, if you were happy, if you even remembered the promises we made. So you went undercover in my organization. His voice was flat, unreadable. You lied to me for 6 months. To protect you. The words burst out. Because I heard whispers, Victor. Rumors that the Moretti family had ulterior motives, and I couldn't just call you up and ask, could I? You would have told me to stay away, to stay safe, to let you handle it. Damn right I would have. Well, I didn't. I stood up, facing him now, all the fear and anger and love I'd been hiding for 6 months finally breaking through. I couldn't sit in some safe apartment in California knowing you might be in danger. So yes, I came back. Yes, I lied. Yes, I worked my way into your world so I could keep an eye on things. And tonight I saved your life, so maybe you could be a little less pissed about my methods. Silence, heavy and thick. Then, California, he said softly. You were never in California. No. Where were you, really? Here. Always here. Working dead-end jobs and watching from the shadows, trying to convince myself you didn't need me anymore. God, Roslyn. He ran both hands through his wet hair. Do you have any idea how dangerous this was? If Isabel had figured out who you were? She did, I interrupted. At the restaurant, she saw me pass you the note. His face went pale. Then she knows everything. Or enough. I pulled out my phone, pulled up my messages. The screen was cracked from our escape, but it still worked. There were 17 missed calls, all from unknown numbers, and one text message that made my blood run cold. $2 million for the waitress. Alive or dead, I am. I showed Victor the screen. He read it again. Then very carefully, very deliberately, he said, She put a bounty on your head. Yeah, $2 million. Apparently I'm expensive. This isn't funny, Roslyn. His voice was deadly quiet now, the voice that made grown men flinch. Do you understand what this means? Every soldier, every mercenary, every desperate idiot looking for a payout is going to be hunting you, and Isabel's family has resources across 3 states. I know. You can't go home, can't contact anyone you know, can't... He stopped, stared at me. How long have you been planning this? The safe house, the fake identity? This wasn't improvised. 3 months, I admitted. After I first heard Isabel on the phone, I knew if things went bad, we'd need a place to hide. We. He said it like he was testing the weight of the word. You planned an escape for both of us. Of course I did. My voice came out smaller than I intended. Did you really think I'd save your life and then just leave you to figure out the rest alone? Something shifted in his expression, softened. For a second, I saw the boy from the orphanage, the one who used to hold my hand during thunderstorms and promise we'd always watch out for each other. Why? He asked. After everything, after I disappeared into this life and left you behind, why would you risk everything to come back? The answer was simple, terrifying, but simple. Because you're you, I said, and I'm me, and that's always been enough. He opened his mouth to respond. That's when we heard it. Sirens, close, getting closer. Victor moved to the window, careful to stay hidden behind the curtain. I saw his jaw tighten. 5 police cars, he said, heading this way. The cops work for the Morettis? Some of them, enough of them. He turned back to me. How many exits does this place have? 1. The stairs we came down. Windows? Basement level, barred. His expression was grim. Then we have maybe 2 minutes before they knock that door down. My mind raced through options, through plans, through desperate measures. The subway, I said suddenly. There's a maintenance tunnel 3 blocks from here. I scouted it weeks ago. The entrance is hidden behind a homeless encampment. Most people don't even know it's there. Can we reach it without being seen? If we're lucky. He almost smiled. When have we ever been lucky? Fair point. The sirens were right outside now. I could see red and blue lights flashing through the window cracks. Victor grabbed my hand, just like he used to when we were kids running from trouble, and said, Then I guess we'd better start now. We hit the door running. The subway tunnel smelled like rust and decades of human misery. We'd made it past the police by cutting through a condemned building's basement, crawling through a broken section of sewer pipe, and emerging behind the homeless encampment like ghosts. The people there barely looked at us. They'd seen worse than 2 soaked, desperate runaways. Now we were underground in the old maintenance tunnels that ran beneath the city, the ones they'd sealed off after the new line opened, the ones only people like me, people who studied maps and planned for worst-case scenarios, even knew existed. Victor walked ahead, using his phone's flashlight to navigate the darkness. The tunnels branched off in a dozen directions, a maze of concrete and abandoned equipment. "How far?" he asked. "Half a mile. There's an old maintenance room with a door that still locks." I watched water drip from overhead pipes, each drop echoing in the silence. "We can rest there, regroup. And then?" "I don't know yet." He glanced back at me, and in the harsh phone light, I could see exhaustion carved into his features. Blood still crusted his lip. His expensive suit was destroyed, torn and filthy from our escape. But his eyes, those were still sharp, still calculating. "You've changed," he said quietly. "So have you." We walked in silence for a while. Our footsteps splashed through puddles I tried not to think too hard about. Somewhere above us, the city was hunting us. Down here, we might as well have been the only two people alive. "This place," Victor said suddenly. "The maintenance room. Is it where I think it is?" My chest tightened. "Yeah." "The old 7th Avenue station?" "Yeah." He stopped walking, turned to face me fully. "That's where we used to hide when we were kids, when things got bad at the orphanage." I remembered. God, I remembered. We'd found the abandoned station when we were 13, discovered that one of the tunnel entrances wasn't actually sealed properly. It had become our sanctuary, our secret. "I used to think about that place," Victor said softly, "when things got dark, when I was building all this." He gestured vaguely at himself, at the life he'd created above ground. "I'd remember sitting down here with you, planning all the ways we'd escape that life, make something better." "And you did," I said. "You escaped, built an empire, by becoming exactly what we swore we'd never be." His laugh was bitter. "Funny how that works." We started walking again. The tunnel curved, and I recognized the markings on the wall, graffiti we'd put there years ago, faded now, barely visible, but still there. A crooked heart. Our initials inside it. Victor saw it too. His hand reached out, traced the outline. "I was going to tell you," he said, "before I left, before I went all in with the family business." "Tell me what?" He didn't answer right away, just kept walking, kept moving forward through the dark. The maintenance room appeared around the next bend. The door hung crooked on its hinges, but it was still solid, still lockable from the inside. We slipped in. I closed the door, slid the bolt home. The room was exactly as I remembered. Small. Concrete walls covered in old pipes and electrical boxes that didn't work anymore. A bench bolted to one wall. A few crates we'd dragged in as kids to use as furniture. Someone had been here since. There were newer blankets stacked in the corner, probably from other people who'd discovered our hiding spot over the years. But it was dry, and it was safe, and right now that was a luxury. I sank onto the bench. Every part of my body ached. Victor stayed standing, pacing the small space like a caged animal, energy still burning through him despite everything. "You need to sit down," I said, "before you collapse." "I'm fine." "You're bleeding." He touched his lip, looked at the blood on his fingers like he'd forgotten it was there. "I've had worse." "I know. I was there for most of it." That made him stop pacing. He looked at me, really looked at me, and something in his expression cracked. "Why did you really come back, Roslyn?" "I told you." "No, not the surveillance story, not the protection angle." He moved closer, and I could see the vulnerability underneath all that armor he'd built. "The real reason, because you could have sent an anonymous tip, could have warned me 1,000 different ways without putting yourself in the line of fire. So why did you come back?" My throat felt tight. "Victor, is it because you felt responsible for me? Some misplaced loyalty from when we were kids?" "No." "Then what?" His voice rose, frustration bleeding through. "Because I need to understand, Roslyn. I need to know why you'd throw away 6 years of safety to walk back into this nightmare." "Because I couldn't stay away." The words exploded out of me. Because every day I was gone felt like drowning. Because I'd wake up wondering if you were alive or dead. happy or miserable, and I couldn't stand not knowing. Because you're not just some responsibility or childhood memory. You're. I stopped. Couldn't say it. Couldn't put words to the thing that had been living in my chest for 18 years. But Victor's eyes had gone soft. Understanding. I proposed to Isabel because I thought you were gone, he said quietly. Really gone. Living some safe, normal life in California, like I'd always wanted for you. And the marriage made sense strategically. Would have ended the war, protected my people. I know. But every time she touched me, every time she smiled at me, all I could think was, his voice caught, she wasn't you. The air between us felt electric, dangerous. The night before I left for California, the night that never happened, I came to find you, I whispered. I'd finally worked up the courage to tell you how I felt, but you were already gone, already deep into the family business, surrounded by guards and guns in a world I didn't recognize. I waited for you. His voice was rough, at our spot in the old station. I waited for 3 hours because I knew you'd come to say goodbye, but you never showed. Because I saw you with them, with the soldiers. You'd already transformed into someone else. And I thought, my voice broke. I thought you'd outgrown me, outgrown us. Jesus, Roslyn. He crossed the space between us in 2 strides, sank onto the bench beside me. You were the only real thing in my entire life, the only person who knew me before all this. How could I possibly outgrow that? Then why didn't you come find me? All these years? Because I did this. He gestured at himself, at the blood and the violence and the empire built on fear. I became the thing we hated, and I couldn't drag you into it, couldn't watch this world destroy the best part of me. Tears were streaming down my face now. I was already destroyed, you idiot. The day you disappeared and didn't take me with you. His hand came up, cupped my cheek. His thumb wiped away tears that just kept coming. I thought I was protecting you, he said softly. I didn't need protection. I needed you. I know that now. His forehead pressed against mine. Watching you slip me that note tonight, seeing you risk everything, I know that now. We sat like that for a long moment, breathing the same air, existing in the same broken, beautiful space. I'm sorry, he whispered. For which part? All of it. Leaving. Not fighting harder to find you, proposing to someone else when my heart was always... He stopped, started again. I'm sorry I made you feel like you weren't enough. You didn't. I did. By choosing this life over you. By letting you believe I'd forgotten. My hand found his. Our fingers laced together like they had 1,000 times when we were kids. I never forgot either, I said. Every job I worked, every city I passed through, I was just killing time, waiting for an excuse to come back. Isabel gave you one. She did. I almost laughed. Worst fiancé ever, but at least she got me here. Victor pulled back enough to look at me. Really look at me. And I saw it then. Everything he'd been hiding for years. The loneliness, the regret, the love that had never quite died. If we survive this, he said, if we make it out alive, when, I corrected, when we make it out. A smile ghosted across his lips. When we make it out, I'm done pretending. Done building walls, done trying to convince myself I can do this without you. Victor, I mean it. His grip on my hand tightened. You and me, however that looks, whatever that means. But no more running from this. My heart was hammering so hard I thought it might crack my ribs. You're sure? I asked. Because I'm not exactly safe girlfriend material. I've spent 6 months lying to you. I'm currently wanted dead or alive, and I have exactly 0 plan for what happens next. Lucky for you, I've got enough plans for both of us. He leaned closer, and I could feel the heat of him, smell the rain and copper and something essentially Victor. And I happen to love complicated women with questionable judgment. Yeah? Yeah. The kiss happened slowly, carefully, like we were both afraid the other might disappear if we moved too fast. His lips were soft despite the split, and he tasted like blood and rain and coming home. My hands fisted in his ruined shirt, pulling him closer, years of wanting finally breaking through every defense I'd built. When we finally pulled apart, both breathless, his smile was real, the first real smile I'd seen on his face in years. "We're going to die down here, aren't we?" I said. "Probably. At least we'll go out with style." He laughed, actually laughed, and the sound filled the small concrete room with something that felt dangerously close to hope. Then his phone buzzed. We both froze. He pulled it out slowly, looked at the screen. His expression went hard. "What?" I asked. "Message from one of my guys, the one I actually trust." He showed me the screen. The text read, "Boss, I am executing anyone who won't hunt the girl. 3 dead so far. She's not stopping. Get out of the city." Below it was a photo that made my blood freeze. 3 bodies, lined up on the street, each with a single bullet hole. I recognized one of them, Tommy Reeves. He'd worked security at Russo's, had always been kind to the waitstaff. "She's killing your people," I whispered, "because of me. Because she's a psychopath." Victor's voice was cold fury. "This isn't on you, Roslyn. This is on her. But they're dying because they're loyal to me, and she can't stand that." He stood up, started pacing again. "This changes things. If she's willing to execute my own soldiers, she's past the point of reason. What do we do?" He was quiet for a long moment, thinking, calculating. Then, "We stop running." "Stop running?" I stared at him. "Victor, there's a $2 million bounty on my head, and she's executing people. How exactly do we stop running? By remembering who I am?" He turned to face me, and I saw the shift. The transformation from the man who'd kissed me minutes ago back into the crime boss who'd built an empire. "I spent 10 years building loyalty, Roslyn. Real loyalty. The kind that doesn't break because some Moretti princess offers money. She's already killed 3 people. 3 people who were probably on her payroll anyway. Spies, traitors." He pulled out his phone, started typing. "But the rest of my organization, they're not going to turn on me because Isabel throws a tantrum." "You can't be sure of that." "I can." He hit send, then looked at me. "Because I'm about to call in every favor I've earned, every alliance I've built, every person who owes me their life, their business, or their freedom. And we're going to find out who stands with me when it actually matters." I watched him work, watched the strategy unfold in real time. This was the Victor I'd heard rumors about, the one who could outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast anyone who challenged him. It was terrifying, and if I'm being honest, kind of attractive. He made 3 calls, short, clipped. Each one ended with the same phrase, "You know what I've done for you. Now I'm asking you to remember." After the 3rd call, he sat back down beside me. "We have 12 hours, he said. 12 hours before my people can mobilize properly, before I know who I can trust and who's already turned. And until then, we wait, we rest." His eyes found mine, and we figure out our next move. The adrenaline was finally wearing off. I could feel exhaustion dragging at my bones, making my thoughts slow and syrupy. "I should check your injuries," I said. "That lip looks bad." "I've had worse." "I know. I remember the bottle to the face, and the knife fight when you were 15, and that time." Okay. A small smile. "You've made your point." I found a first aid kit in one of the crates. I'd stashed supplies down here months ago, planning for exactly this kind of emergency. Antiseptic, bandages, pain medication that was probably expired but better than nothing. "Sit," I ordered. He sat. I cleaned the split on his lip carefully, trying not to hurt him more than necessary. He didn't flinch, just watched me with those dark eyes that had always seen too much. "You're good at this," he said quietly. "I've had practice. Took a combat medicine course 2 years ago. Figured it might come in handy. For what? Your undercover waitressing job? I met his eyes. For keeping you alive. Something shifted in his expression, softened. You've been planning this for a long time, haven't you? Coming back, finding ways to be useful in my world. Since the day I left, I admitted. Every skill I learned, every class I took, it was all preparation. I told myself I was just staying sharp, just keeping my options open. But really? I dabbed antiseptic on his lip, watched him wince. I was building a resume for a job I didn't even have yet. Protecting me. Protecting us. His hand caught my wrist. Gentle. I don't deserve you. Probably not. I tried to smile. But you're stuck with me anyway. Rosalind, he started to say something, then his face went pale. Wait. What? He was staring past me at the door. Did you hear that? I froze, listened. Footsteps, in the tunnel outside, getting closer. They found us, I breathed. Victor stood quickly, too quickly. He swayed, grabbed the wall for balance. Victor, I'm fine. But he wasn't. His face had gone gray, and there was fresh blood on his shirt, not from his lip. You're bleeding. I pulled his jacket open, lifted his shirt, and my heart stopped. There was a wound in his side, small, dark. A bullet graze that had gone deeper than either of us realized. When did this happen? My voice came out high and tight. During the chase. One of the shots must have caught me. He tried to push my hands away. It's nothing. It's not nothing. The wound was still bleeding, soaking through his shirt. Why didn't you tell me? Because you would have worried, and we had to keep moving. You idiot! Tears burned my eyes as I grabbed the first aid kit, started pulling out supplies. You absolute idiot. The footsteps outside were closer now, multiple sets and voices, low, cautious. Trail went cold around here. Check every room. 2 million for the girl, bonus if we bring back the boss. Hunters. Probably mercenaries drawn by Isabel's bounty. I looked at Victor, at the blood, at the locked door that wouldn't hold against determined attackers. Can you move? I whispered. Yes. Don't lie to me. He met my eyes. I can move, but not fast, not far. My mind raced through options. We were trapped in a dead-end maintenance room. Victor was injured. Armed men were outside. This was bad. The doorknob rattled. Someone testing it. It's locked, a voice said. Blow it. I heard the distinctive sound of someone setting an explosive charge. We had maybe 30 seconds. The ventilation shaft, I said suddenly, pointing to a grate high on the wall. We used to crawl through it when we were kids. That was 18 years ago. We were a lot smaller. You have a better idea? The voices outside counted down. 3, 2, go! Victor shoved me toward the wall. I jumped, grabbed the grate, yanked it free. The shaft behind it was dark and narrow, barely wide enough for an adult. But it was our only chance. I pulled myself up, squeezed into the shaft. The metal was cold and rough against my skin. Victor, come on! He jumped, grabbed the edge, but his injured side made him gasp, made his grip slip. I grabbed his wrists, pulled with everything I had. Below us, the door exploded inward. Victor's weight nearly dragged me back out of the shaft, but I held on, pulled harder. His feet found purchase on a pipe, and he heaved himself up. We crawled into the darkness just as the room filled with armed men. They were just here, someone shouted. Find them! The shaft was barely big enough to turn around in. We crawled on our stomachs, pushing forward through dust and cobwebs and God knows what else. Victor was right behind me. I could hear his labored breathing, could hear him trying not to make sounds of pain. Keep going, he grunted. Don't stop. The shaft branched. I took the left fork by instinct, following half-remembered paths from childhood. Behind us, I heard someone at the ventilation opening. They went into the vents. Too small for us. Call in the tracking team. We crawled faster. The shaft seemed to go on forever, twisting and turning through the guts of the old station. My hands scraped against metal. My knees burned. But I didn't stop. Finally, the shaft opened into a wider space, an old electrical room that hadn't been used in decades. I dropped down, turned to help Victor. He practically fell out of the shaft, landing hard. The impact made him cry out, a sound of pure pain that he immediately tried to suppress. "Let me see," I said, already pulling up his shirt. The wound had opened wider from the crawling. Blood ran freely now, dark and slick. "This is bad," I said. My hands were shaking. "Victor, this is really bad." "Then fix it." His voice was tight with pain. "You said you took combat medicine, so fix it." I'd never actually had to use those skills on someone I loved, on someone who mattered more than breathing. My hands shook as I pulled out the medical supplies, antiseptic, gauze, a needle and thread I'd packed for emergencies. "This is going to hurt," I warned. "Everything hurts already. Just do it." I poured antiseptic into the wound. He went rigid, jaw clenched so tight I thought his teeth might crack. But he didn't scream, didn't make a sound. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I'm so sorry." "Not your fault." His hand found mine, squeezed. "Never your fault." I threaded the needle with shaking fingers. The wound needed to be closed, and stitches were the only option. The first stitch made him gasp. The second made his grip on my hand tighten until my bones ached. By the third, he was breathing in short, sharp pants. "Talk to me," he said through gritted teeth. "Distract me." "With what?" "Anything. Tell me," he hissed as I made another stitch. "Tell me about California, the life you didn't actually have." So I talked, told him about the fake apartment I'd pretended to rent, the fake job I'd supposedly gotten, the fake friends I'd invented in messages to people who asked. "I created this whole other life," I said, working the needle carefully. Down to the coffee shop I supposedly went to every morning, the route I'd take to work, the movies I'd see on weekends. Why so detailed? Because lying is easier when you believe it yourself. Another stitch. He was pale now, sweating. "And because sometimes I wished it was real, wished I really had escaped all this. Do you still wish that?" I tied off the last stitch, cut the thread. "No." "Even now, with people hunting us and you bleeding, through supplies, trying to patch me up in an abandoned electrical room?" "Even now." I taped gauze over the stitches, then looked at him, really looked at him. "Because you're here, and that makes everywhere else not matter." His hand cupped my cheek. His thumb traced my jaw. "When this is over," he said softly, "when we're safe and Isabel's dealt with, I'm going to take you somewhere, anywhere you want, and we're going to have that normal life, the coffee shops and movies and everything." "Victor!" "I mean it. You've spent years planning how to save my life. Let me spend the rest of mine figuring out how to make you happy." The kiss was different this time, slower, deeper, tasting like blood and promises and futures we might not live to see. When we pulled apart, his forehead rested against mine. "I love you," he whispered. "I should have said it 6 years ago, should have said it every day since, but I'm saying it now. I love you, Roslyn." My throat was too tight for words, so I just kissed him again, poured everything I couldn't say into that single point of contact. His phone buzzed. We both froze. He checked it. His expression shifted. "It's my guy again." The message read, "Boss, your call worked. Have 47 confirmed loyalists ready to move. Where do you need us?" Below it, "Also, I am just burned down Russo's restaurant. She's losing it." I looked at the screen, then at Victor. 47 people, I said. "That's more than enough." His eyes had gone hard again, strategic. "More than enough to end this." "Do you think Victor and Roslyn can take down Isabel? If you're rooting for them, subscribe and drop a like. Only people who support Isabel's quest for power won't like to join our family." We stayed in the electrical room for 3 hours, long enough for Victor's bleeding to slow, long enough for him to coordinate with his people through encrypted messages, long enough for me to start understanding just how big his organization really was. 47 had grown to 63, then 78, then 92. People were choosing sides, and most of them were choosing Victor. She made a mistake, Victor said, scrolling through messages. Isabel. She thought fear would make people fall in line. But fear only works if you're stronger than the person wielding it. And you're stronger? I built this organization from nothing. She inherited hers from her father. His smile was cold. There's a difference. But Isabel wasn't giving up either. The reports coming in painted a picture of systematic violence. She'd locked down 3 major neighborhoods, executed 5 more of Victor's people, burned 2 businesses to the ground. And the bounty on my head had doubled. $4 million now, dead or alive. That's a lot of money, I said, trying to keep my voice light. It's desperation. Victor showed me a photo one of his guys had sent. Isabel in the street outside the burned restaurant, screaming at her soldiers. Her hair was wild, her makeup smeared. She looked nothing like the polished woman from the engagement party. She looked destroyed. She really loved you, I said quietly. She loved the idea of me, of power and control and winning. Victor put the phone away. What she's feeling now isn't heartbreak, it's wounded pride. Wounded pride that's getting people killed. I know. His jaw tightened. That's why we need to move, now, while we still have the advantage. Move where? The docks. He stood carefully, testing his stitches. The old warehouse district where we first met. Remember? I remembered. 2 scared kids, both running from different kinds of hell. We'd crashed into each other literally. I'd been stealing food. He'd been running from older boys who wanted to beat him for being new in their territory. We'd hidden in an abandoned warehouse, shared the food I'd stolen, made a pact to watch each other's backs. Why there? I asked. Because it's neutral ground. No family controls it. And because I own half the warehouses now, bought them years ago through shell companies. His smile was grim. Isabel doesn't know that, but when she comes for us, she'll be on my territory. You're setting a trap. I'm ending this. He reached for my hand, but I need to know you're okay with it, with what comes next. What does come next? A war, a small one, hopefully, my people against hers. Winner takes everything. I thought about the bodies, the burned buildings, the price on my head that kept climbing. She's not going to stop, I said. Is she? Not until one of us is dead. No. Then we don't have a choice. His fingers laced with mine. There's always a choice, Roslyn. You could run, really run this time. I could get you out of the city, out of the state, give you enough money to disappear completely. And leave you to fight this alone? You'd be safe. I'd be miserable. I squeezed his hand. We're in this together. That was the deal we made when we were 13 years old, and it's still the deal now. Something that might have been relief crossed his face. Okay then, together. We left the electrical room through a service tunnel that led to an old subway exit 3 blocks from where we'd started. The city above was chaos. Police cars everywhere, news helicopters circling, reports of gang violence that was really just Isabel's tantrum playing out across 4 neighborhoods. Victor's car was waiting where his guy had left it. Black, nondescript, armored, though you couldn't tell by looking. We drove through back streets, avoiding main roads. Every few blocks, I'd see signs of the hunt. Groups of armed men, police checkpoints, faces I recognized from Victor's organization, now standing guard at strategic locations. It's already started, I said. The war. It started the moment she tried to kill me. Victor's hands were steady on the wheel despite the pain I knew he was in. This is just the cleanup. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me. Hello? Roslyn? Isabel's voice, tight with fury and something else. Something that might have been tears. We need to talk. I put it on speaker so Victor could hear. I don't think we have anything to say to each other, I said carefully. Don't you? Her laugh was sharp, broken. You destroyed my life, took everything I'd built, and you don't even know why. Because you tried to kill Victor? Because he was supposed to be mine. The scream came through so loud the speaker crackled. I spent a year of my life on this. A year pretending to fall for him, playing the perfect fiancé, building trust. And it worked. He believed me. He was going to marry me. To end a war, I said, not because he loved you. Love. She spat the word like poison. Who cares about love? This was about power, about finally having something that was mine, not my father's, not my family's. Mine. I looked at Victor. His expression was stone. And then you showed up, Isabel continued. Some nobody waitress. And suddenly he's looking at you like you're the only thing in the room. Do you know how that felt? Watching him see you the way he never saw me? Isabel! I wasn't supposed to care. Her voice broke. It was just business, just a job. But somewhere along the way, She stopped, breathed. And then you ruined everything. You tried to kill him, I said flatly. That's what ruined everything. I was following orders, my father's orders, and if Victor had just died like he was supposed to, I would have mourned him publicly and moved on. But he didn't die. Because of you. And now, everything's falling apart, and my father blames me, and Victor's people are turning on me, and... She was crying now. Actually crying. Part of me felt bad for her. A very small part. The rest of me remembered the bodies, the burns, the price on my head. What do you want, Isabel? Victor asked, speaking for the first time. Silence. Then, Victor, what do you want? He repeated. I want, her voice trembled, I want to offer a deal. I'm listening. The girl, give me the girl, and I'll call off the hunt. Your people go free. Your businesses stay standing. Everything goes back to how it was before. My blood went cold. No, Victor said simply. Victor, be reasonable. She's just one person. You can rebuild, find someone else. But if you keep protecting her, I'll burn everything you've built to the ground. Then burn it. His voice was calm, final. Because you're not touching her. She's nobody, a waitress, a childhood friend. Why are you throwing everything away for... Because I love her. Victor cut her off. Because she's worth more than every warehouse, every alliance, every piece of this empire I've built. And if you can't understand that, then you never understood anything about me at all. The line went quiet. Could hear Isabel breathing. Quick, angry, desperate. Then you're both dead, she said finally. I'm done being nice, done offering deals. I'm going to hunt you down, and I'm going to make you watch while I kill her. And then I'm going to kill you. Slowly. You can try, Victor said. The docks, Warehouse 7, midnight. Bring your army, I'll bring mine, and we'll settle this once and for all. You're challenging me to a war? I'm ending one. He hung up. We drove in silence for a long moment. Then I said, that was either the bravest thing you've ever done or the stupidest. Probably both. He glanced at me. You okay? Was I okay? We were driving toward a confrontation that would probably get us both killed. I was wanted by half the city, and I'd just heard a woman promise to murder me in front of the man I loved. Yeah, I said. I'm okay. And the crazy thing? I actually meant it. Because for the first time in 6 years, I wasn't hiding. Wasn't pretending. Wasn't playing a role. I was exactly who I was supposed to be. Exactly where I was supposed to be. Even if that place was driving toward a war zone at 90 miles an hour with a wounded mafia boss and a $4 million price on my head. Victor's phone buzzed again. He checked it, and his expression shifted. What? I asked. Our guy caught one of Isabel's soldiers. Got him to talk. He showed me the screen. The message read, Boss, you need to see this. IM's been playing everyone. Her father never ordered the hit. She went rogue. Families disowned her. She's acting alone. Below it was an image, a document, an official letter from the Moretti family patriarch, declaring Isabel a traitor and revoking all her authority. She lied, I breathed, about everything. Not just to me. Victor's smile was dangerous. To her own family. This changes everything. How? Because she's not backed by the Moretti Empire anymore. She's just a woman with resources and rage. He turned the car toward the docks. And that makes her vulnerable. Or more dangerous. That too. He reached over, found my hand. But we've faced worse, haven't we? I thought about the orphanage, the streets, the years of running and hiding and surviving. Yeah, I said, we have. The docks appeared on the horizon, dark, empty, waiting. In 7 hours, we'd either end this, or we'd die trying. Warehouse 7 looked exactly like it had 18 years ago. Same rusted metal walls, same broken windows that let in slices of moonlight, same smell of salt water and decay. But everything else was different. Victor's people had transformed it into a fortress. Strategic positions behind crates and machinery. Sightlines covering every entrance. Weapons I tried not to look at too closely. 92 loyal soldiers. All of them here because they'd chosen Victor over money, over fear, over the easy choice. I stood beside Victor on the catwalk overlooking the main floor, watching, his people move into position with military precision. You don't have to be here for this, Victor said quietly. I can have someone take you somewhere safe. Somewhere she'll never find you. We've had this conversation. I know, but I'm asking again. He turned to face me fully. Because what's about to happen, there's no taking it back. People are going to die tonight, Roslyn. Maybe me, maybe you. And I need to know you understand that. I looked at him, at the stitches I'd sewn into his side, at the blood still staining his shirt, at the man who'd chosen me over his empire. I've understood that since the moment I slipped you that note, I said. This was always going to end one way or another. At least this way, we're together. His hand cupped my cheek. If something happens to me, don't. If something happens, he continued, Marcus knows to get you out. New identity, new life, money to start over anywhere you want. Victor, promise me. His eyes were intense, desperate. Promise me you'll run if I go down, that you'll survive this. The word no was on my tongue, but I saw what he needed to hear. I promise, I lied. He knew I was lying. I could see it in his face, but he kissed me anyway, soft and careful, like maybe it was the last time. I love you, he whispered against my lips. I love you too. A shout from below broke the moment. Boss, movement at the north entrance. Victor's whole demeanor changed. The vulnerable man disappeared, replaced by the strategist who'd built an empire. Positions, he called down. Nobody fires until I give the word. We moved to the edge of the catwalk. Through the broken windows, I could see them coming. Isabel's forces. At least 60 people, maybe more. They moved through the darkness like shadows, surrounding the warehouse from every direction. She brought everyone, I said. Good. Victor's voice was cold. Means this ends tonight. The main warehouse door burst open. Isabel walked in first, alone. Unarmed, or at least visibly unarmed. She looked different than she had at the restaurant. Her designer dress was gone, replaced by tactical gear. Her hair was pulled back tight. And her eyes. God. Her eyes looked wild. Broken. Victor! Her voice echoed through the warehouse. I know you're here. Come out and let's talk like civilized people. Victor stepped to the edge of the catwalk, making himself visible. I stayed in the shadows beside him. We're past talking, Isabel. She looked up at him, and even from this distance, I could see the obsession burning in her face. It doesn't have to be this way, she said. Send out the girl. That's all I want. Send her out, and everyone else goes home alive. You really think I'm that stupid? Victor's laugh was harsh. Your own family disowned you, Isabel. You've got no backup, no support, just whatever soldiers you could pay or threaten into following you. Her expression flickered. Shock, then rage. Who told you that? Does it matter? Victor gestured to the warehouse around us. Look at the numbers, Isabel. Look at how many people chose me over your bounty, over your threats. You've already lost. I haven't lost anything. She pulled a gun from behind her back, aimed it at the catwalk, at Victor. Not until you're dead. Weapons up, Victor commanded. Instantly, 92 guns pointed at Isabel and the soldiers filing in behind her. The sound of safeties clicking off filled the warehouse like deadly rain. Isabel's soldiers raised their weapons too. The standoff was complete. This is your last chance, Victor said, his voice carrying across the space. Walk away. Leave the city. I'll let you go. But if I stay, what? Isabel's gun hand was shaking. You'll kill me? Like you killed what we could have been? Like you killed the future I planned? You tried to murder me at our engagement party. Victor's voice was flat. There was never a future. Because of her! Isabel's gun swung toward me. I froze. The barrel looked enormous from this angle. Victor stepped in front of me. You want to shoot someone? Shoot me. But you leave her alone. Why? Isabel's voice cracked. What does she have that I don't? I'm beautiful. I'm powerful. I'm from the right family. What makes her so special? She's real, Victor said simply. Everything about you was a performance. But Roslyn? She risked everything just to warn me. No ulterior motive, no family pressure, just... His voice softened. Just love. The words hung in the air. Isabel's face twisted with something that looked like grief. I could have loved you, really loved you, if you'd just given me the chance. You tried to kill me, Victor repeated. That's not love, Isabel. That's possession. And what she's offering is better? Isabel laughed bitterly. She lied to you for 6 months, worked undercover in your organization. How is that different from what I did? Because I know why she did it. Victor's hand found mine, squeezed. And because, when it mattered, she chose saving me over protecting herself. Can you say the same? Isabel's gun lowered slightly. Tears streamed down her face now, ruining what was left of her makeup. I hate you, she whispered. I hate you both so much. I know, Victor said, not unkindly. But it's over, Isabel. Accept it. Walk away. Start somewhere new. For a moment, just a moment, I thought she might actually do it. Her shoulders slumped, her gun drooped. Then she looked up at me, and I saw the decision in her eyes before she moved. If I can't have you, she said, raising the gun again, nobody can. Everything happened at once. Isabel fired. Victor shoved me backward. The bullet caught him in the shoulder, the good shoulder, not the side I'd stitched, and spun him around. I screamed. The warehouse exploded into gunfire. Victor went down hard, and I dropped beside him, covering, his body with mine as bullets tore through the air above us. I'm okay, he gasped. I'm okay, just... You're shot. I've been shot before. He pushed me toward cover behind a metal support beam. Stay down. Below us, it was chaos. Victor's people had opened fire the second Isabel pulled the trigger. Her soldiers fired back. The sound was deafening. I pressed my hands against Victor's shoulder, trying to stop the bleeding. The bullet had gone clean through. That was good. But he was losing blood fast. That was bad. Marcus, Victor shouted over the gunfire. Where's Marcus? A man appeared on the catwalk, running low. Here, boss. Get her out of here. No. I held onto Victor tighter. I'm not leaving you. Roslyn, you promised. I was crying now, couldn't stop. You promised we'd do this together. He looked at me, at Marcus, at the war zone below. Then he made a decision. Both of us, he told Marcus. Get both of us out of here. Marcus nodded, already moving. He grabbed Victor under one arm. I took the other, and we half-carried, half-dragged him toward a back exit I hadn't even noticed. Below us, the fight raged on. I caught glimpses through the chaos. Isabel screaming orders, her face streaked with tears and rage. Victor's people advancing, pushing her soldiers back toward the exits. Bodies on the ground. How many? I couldn't tell. We burst through the back exit into an alley. A car was waiting, engine already running. Marcus shoved us into the back seat, then jumped behind the wheel. We peeled out before the door was even fully closed. "Hospital," I said. "He needs a hospital." "No hospitals," Victor gasped. "They'll be watching." "I don't care. You're bleeding." "I have a doctor." Marcus was already driving, weaving through back streets. "Private, discreet. We'll be there in 5 minutes." I held pressure on Victor's shoulder, watched his face go pale. "Stay with me," I whispered. "Victor, stay with me." "I'm fine." His words were slurring, "just tired." "Don't you dare." I squeezed his hand hard enough to hurt. "Don't you dare die on me now. Not after everything." His eyes focused on mine with effort. "Wouldn't dream of it." Behind us in the distance, I could still hear gunfire, still see smoke rising into the night sky. "Is she dead?" I asked Marcus. "Don't know. People were closing in on her position when I pulled you out." He glanced in the rearview mirror. "But either way, it's over. Her people are surrendering. Yours won." Victor's laugh was weak. "Told you, loyalty beats money." "You also told me you weren't going to get shot again," I said, tears still streaming down my face. "So your track record isn't great right now?" He smiled. Actually smiled. Fair point. The car screeched to a stop outside a nondescript building. Marcus was out and opening our door before I could process where we were. "Doc's inside," he said. "Already prepped and waiting." We got Victor inside, into a room that looked more like a surgical suite than anything I'd expected. A woman in scrubs was already there, professional and calm, taking over from me with practiced efficiency. "Gunshot wound. Through and through. Right shoulder," I reported automatically. "Happened maybe 8 minutes ago. He's lost a lot of blood." She nodded, already working. "You did good keeping pressure on it. Probably saved his life." "Story of my life," Victor muttered, then passed out. I stood there, blood on my hands, watching them work on him, watching his chest rise and fall, counting each breath like a prayer. Marcus put a hand on my shoulder. "He's going to be fine. Doc's the best." "You're sure?" "I'm sure." He squeezed gently. "And Boss was right. Your people won. The warehouse is secure. Isabel's either dead or captured. We'll know more soon." I should have felt relief, victory, something, but all I felt was exhausted. "What happens now?" I asked. Marcus smiled. "Now? Now you get your happy ending." Victor woke up 3 days later. I was sitting beside his bed in the safe house where the doctor had moved him after surgery. I'd barely left his side except when Marcus physically forced me to eat or sleep. His eyes opened slowly, focused on me, and he smiled. "Hey," he said, voice rough from disuse. "Hey yourself." I leaned forward, took his hand. "How do you feel?" "Like I got shot twice in 1 week." "That's because you did, you idiot." He laughed, then winced. "Don't make me laugh. Hurts." "Good. Maybe you'll learn to stop jumping in front of bullets." "For you?" His thumb traced circles on the back of my hand. "Never." I wanted to yell at him, to tell him how terrified I'd been, how I'd watched him bleed and thought I was going to lose him, but instead I just held his hand and cried. "Hey, hey." He tried to sit up, failed, settled for pulling me closer. "I'm okay. We're okay." "I know." I wiped at my eyes. "I know. I know." We sat like that for a long time, just breathing, just being alive together. Eventually, I pulled back enough to look at him properly. "Marcus said we won, that Isabel's people surrendered." "Yeah." Victor's expression was complicated. "Marcus filled me in earlier. Most of her soldiers gave up once they realized they were outnumbered. Smart choice." "And Isabel?" He was quiet for a moment. "Dead. Caught a bullet in the crossfire. One of her own people, actually. Someone who decided the bounty money wasn't worth dying for." I didn't know how to feel about that. Relief? Guilt? Sadness for a woman who'd destroyed herself over obsession? "It's okay to feel conflicted," Victor said softly, reading my expression. She was complicated, dangerous, but also broken. And broken people do terrible things. Like trying to kill the man they claim to love? Exactly like that. He squeezed my hand. But she's gone now, and we're still here. That has to count for something. Over the next few weeks, I watched Victor rebuild. Not just his organization, though that happened too. People came to pledge their loyalty, to thank him for standing up to the Morettis, to ask what came next. But more than that, I watched him rebuild himself. He was different after the warehouse, softer somehow, less guarded, like getting shot twice had burned away whatever walls he'd been hiding behind. He smiled more, laughed more, actually took days off, and he kept me at his side through all of it, not hidden away like a secret, not protected like a weakness, but there, visible. His partner in every sense of the word. The Moretti family wants to meet, Marcus said one afternoon, about 6 weeks after the warehouse fight. Make peace, officially end the conflict. Victor looked at me. What do you think? The fact that he was asking, that my opinion mattered in decisions like this, still felt surreal. I think peace is good, I said carefully, but only if they understand you're not going back to how things were before. Oh, they understand. Victor's smile was sharp. I made it very clear. No marriage alliances, no mergers, just mutual respect in separate territories. They can take it or leave it. And if they leave it, then we keep what we've built, and they can try to take it if they think they can. He shrugged, but I don't think they will. They've lost too much already. He was right. The Morettis came to the table 6 months after the warehouse fight, signed a treaty that gave Victor's organization complete autonomy, withdrew all claims on his territory. They'd learned what Isabel never did. Victor Constantine couldn't be controlled, only respected. With peace came stability, and with stability came the chance to actually build something instead of just surviving. Victor started transitioning his business, moving away from the violent parts, investing in legitimate enterprises, real estate, security, even a restaurant chain. Marcus joked that he'd missed having Russos around. It was slow work, difficult work, but he was committed. I'm done being what we hated, he told me one night. Done letting this life define me. I want to be someone you'd actually want to build a future with. I already do, I said. I always have. But I understood what he meant, and I loved him more for trying. We fell into a rhythm. Days spent working together, me helping coordinate his security operations, using all those skills I'd learned preparing to protect him. Nights spent in the apartment we'd rented together, cooking dinner and watching terrible movies and being aggressively, wonderfully normal. Sometimes I'd wake up and forget where I was, forget that we'd actually made it, that we were safe and together and alive. Then I'd feel Victor's arm around me, hear him breathing steady and peaceful, and remember, we'd survived. About 8 months after everything went down, Victor took me to the old orphanage. It had been converted into a community center years ago, but the chapel was still there. Still looked exactly like it had when we were kids. Why are we here? I asked as we walked through the familiar hallways. Because I need to ask you something. He led me into the chapel, to the exact spot where we'd promised to always protect each other. And I wanted to do it here, where it all started. My heart was suddenly pounding. He turned to face me, took both my hands in his. 18 years ago, he said quietly, we stood in this room and made a promise. We swore we'd always protect each other, always have each other's backs, always be there when it mattered. I remember. We were just kids then, didn't really understand what we were promising. His thumbs traced circles on my hands. But we kept that promise anyway, through everything, through years apart and lies and danger and a woman who literally tried to kill us both. I laughed, tears already starting. We're good at keeping promises. We are, he smiled. So I want to make a new one, right here, right now. He let go of my hands, reached into his pocket, and pulled out a small box. My breath caught. Roslyn. He opened the box, revealed a simple silver band with a single diamond. Nothing ostentatious, nothing showy, just beautiful. I don't have a speech prepared. Don't have some grand romantic gesture. All I have is this. I love you. I've loved you since we were 13 years old, and you taught me how to pick locks. And I want to spend whatever time we have left making you as happy as you've made me. Will you marry me? I was full on crying now. Couldn't stop. Couldn't even speak. So I just nodded, over and over, until he laughed and stood and pulled me into his arms. Is that a yes? He asked against my hair. Yes, you idiot. Obviously, yes. He slipped the ring on my finger. It fit perfectly. You had this planned, I accused, for 3 months, been carrying that ring around waiting for the right moment. And you chose the orphanage chapel? I chose where we became us. He kissed my forehead. Seemed appropriate. We got married 2 months later. Small ceremony. Just Marcus and a handful of people who actually mattered. Right there in the chapel where we'd made every important promise of our lives. I wore a simple white dress. Victor wore a suit that wasn't stained with blood for once. And when we said our vows, we included the original promise from 18 years ago. To always protect each other. To always have each other's backs. To always be there when it mattered. Then we added a new line. To always choose each other above everything else for as long as we both lived. The reception was at Victor's new restaurant, the flagship of the chain he'd been building. Good food, better company, no assassination attempts. My standards had gotten really low, but I was okay with that. Happy? Victor asked during our first dance, holding me close despite his shoulder still being stiff sometimes. Absurdly, I said, even though you married a former crime boss with more enemies than friends and a tendency to get shot? Especially because of that. I smiled up at him. You're never boring, I'll give you that. He laughed, spun me carefully. Neither are you, Mrs. Constantine. Mrs. Constantine. I'd never thought I'd hear that name. But here we were. A year after the warehouse fight, I stood in Victor's new restaurant, our restaurant, and looked around at what we'd built. The place was packed. Families eating dinner, couples on dates, normal people living normal lives, with no idea that the man who owned this place used to run half the city's underworld. Victor came up behind me, wrapped his arms around my waist. What are you thinking about? About how far we've come. I leaned back against him. About how we went from 2 scared kids in an orphanage to this. This is pretty good, isn't it? It's perfect. And I meant it. Not perfect in the sense that nothing ever went wrong. Victor still had bad days when his old life caught up with him. I still had nightmares about the warehouse. We still argued and frustrated each other and made mistakes. But we did it together. And after everything, after the lies and the violence and the woman who tried to tear us apart, we'd found our way back to that original promise. To protect each other, to have each other's backs, to be there when it mattered. We were just better at it now. I have something to tell you, I said, turning in his arms. Yeah? Remember how I've been tired lately and kind of nauseous? His eyes widened. Roslyn, I took a test this morning. I smiled through sudden tears. We're having a baby. His face went through about 12 emotions in 3 seconds. Shock, joy, terror, wonder. Then he picked me up, carefully, mindful of both our old injuries, and spun me around right there in the middle of the restaurant. We're having a baby, he repeated, like he couldn't quite believe it. We're having a baby, I confirmed. People were staring. I didn't care. I love you, he said, setting me down gently, cupping my face in his hands. God, Roslyn, I love you so much. I love you too. We stood there, holding each other, while our restaurant buzzed with life around us. 2 kids from the orphanage who'd promised to always protect each other, who'd survived betrayal and bullets and a bounty on our heads, who'd fought our way through hell and somehow found heaven on the other side. You know what this means, right? Victor said suddenly. What? We're going to have to baby-proof the apartment. No guns lying around. No late-night strategy meetings, actual normal parent stuff. I laughed. You're going to be terrible at normal. Probably. He grinned. Good thing I've got you to keep me honest. Always. And I meant it. Always. Through whatever came next. Because 18 years ago, too scared, kids made a promise in a chapel. And we'd spent every day since proving that some promises are worth keeping. No matter what. Have you ever loved someone so completely that you'd risk everything? Your safety, your identity, even your life, just to protect them? That's what Rosalind did. And in return, Victor showed her that real love isn't about possession or control. It's about choosing someone, every single day, even when the world is falling apart around you. If this story hit you in the feels, drop a comment below. Tell me, would you have slipped that note? Would you have stayed and fought? Or would you have run? I read every single comment, and I want to know what you would have done in Rosalind's position. And if you want more stories about people who love dangerously, fight fiercely, and refuse to give up on each other, hit that subscribe button even if you're watching on your TV. Grab a second to join this family of fans who love emotional and heartfelt stories. Your support means everything, and it helps us bring you even more tales like this because, trust me, we're just getting started.